Hello everyone, I've always been a fan of the first generation. It's definitely my very first video game, and since now the 7th generation, there have been Pokemon from the original Pokédex that have received alternative forms. Technically, it's been happening since 1999, but well, maybe that will be the subject of another video. What you need to remember is that these regional forms mostly have a new type, new statistics, and of course, new moves they can learn. As I always tend to ask questions that no one would have imagined, I wanted to know if in the case where Galarian Articuno were in the first generation game, would it be a good Pokemon to use? Before establishing the rules for the challenge, I'll directly answer the question everyone is asking. How on earth can we use Galarian Articuno in a game that appeared a quarter of a century before its creation? It's quite simple. I modified the game to add this Pokemon, and only this Pokemon, with its psychic flying type and the moves it learns in the first game where it appears. The thing to remember, however, is that I won't be adding new types to the game or moves from future generations. So in this case, Galarian Articuno can only use moves it currently knows, but were present in 1996, the release year of the games. For those who know a little about the mechanics of this generation, you'll note that starting from the second generation, the special stat is divided into two: special attack and special defense. It's legitimate to ask what Galarian Articuno's special stat will be, since when it was created, there were two of them. It's quite simple. We'll make the same change as with Articuno, which in the second generation saw its special stat become its special defense, while Game Freak decided that its special attack would be 95. The same reasoning applies to Galarian Articuno. This would mean that its special defense is in fact the special stat, which here is 100. This is already a nerf compared to the base Pokemon, even if it's hard to use that term when the type it receives is the king of its generation. Now that this is explained, let's move on to the rules, which are fairly standard for the solo challenge. In battles, I'm only allowed to use Articuno and nothing else. HM slaves are allowed, but the goal of this kind of video isn't really to see if Articuno can finish the game. It's a legendary, so we already suspect that, but it's more about how quickly it can complete the entire adventure and whether it's easy. This implies not mindlessly leveling up the Pokemon to level 100. In fact, we'll try to minimize the number of battles in the game, only doing the ones that are necessary to continue the adventure. Optimizing the capture of HM slaves to go as fast as possible is also necessary. Of course, items are prohibited in battle, and there are a few additional rules. We'll prohibit the use of double team since it would make the challenge strategically uninteresting. Now that all of this is in place, we've received our Galarian Articuno from Professor Oak, and the first thing we observe is that it can't learn many moves. Unlike its Kanto cousin, many abilities it knows come from future generations. However, this doesn't mean there's nothing worthwhile. At level 5, it already knows Gust and Confusion, which theoretically are two stab moves for it. And in the first generation, having Confusion right from the start is excellent. After the battle against Blue, we can head to the Viridian Forest, where there's actually a mandatory trainer battle. It's a bug catcher with a level 9 Weedle, and given its poison type, a psychic move is a good choice to win the battle. However, that's not at all what I used. No, I didn't want to use up the power points of Confusion. I just realized a little too late that Gust is normal type in the first generation. Well, in itself, it doesn't change much. At level 5, Articuno is perfectly capable of beating the Weedle. We can then enter Pewter City to directly challenge the gym leader Brock. Since this is our third battle in the run, we're only at level 6, but Confusion is a special move. It deals reasonable damage to Geodude, which, on its side, hasn't focused on offensive moves. This means that after 4 hits, we take down a Pokemon that's double our level before facing Onix, which also now has twice our level, and a bit of luck on the first turn. We have the chance to get a critical hit, even though we're not really threatened by Brock's Pokemon, and we keep using psychic attacks until he uses Bide, then falls into confusion due to the secondary effect of our attack. This is enough to take care of him. The first battle is won in one shot, which is a good sign. Despite its special nerf, Galarian Articuno manages the beginning of the adventure without much trouble. On the next route, heading towards Mount Moon, there are quite a few mandatory trainers, so by the time we enter it, we're already at level 11 and have learned the move Protect. That's another string to our bow before facing Team Rocket Grunts, who are defenseless against the psychic powers of our creature. Thus, we reach Cerulean City without too much difficulty. And the first thing I wanted to try was a battle against the rival at the beginning of Nugget Bridge. The first opponent is Pidgeotto, and while on paper we have the better of the two birds, our opponent has a rather annoying move, using Sand Attack. It hampers our performance in the battle. So we redo the attack once, and when we manage to neutralize the Pidgeotto, we're left with only 10 HP before we pause against the Abra. Here's where we can use Protect, but we miss it. The opposing Pokemon is harmless, and after a few attacks, we find ourselves in a high-stakes battle against the Rattata. Since we've reached level 15, Articuno learns the move Hypnosis, which is an excellent ability in this generation, since the sleep mechanic is completely overpowered. But for that, we need to successfully put the opposing Pokemon to sleep. So we manage it on our second attempt, and then we just need to attack. Unfortunately, Rattata wakes up quite quickly, and when we try to put it back to sleep due to a single priority move in the game, the Route 1 Pokemon knocks us out. First defeat in this this challenge, and now we have the information. We're going to immediately try our luck against blue, and the biggest threat is definitely Pidgeotto, which we need to eliminate as quickly as possible. We received several critical hits, but we're fortunate to get one as well, which allows us to take down the Pokemon in 3 hits. We did, however, take a sand attack. We have a bit more HP than before, which might allow us to use an additional safety hypnosis for the rest of the battle. We relearn the move at level 15, and this time it hits directly, allowing us to get in 2 hits. Rattata can go back into its Pokeball, making way for the ultimate Pokemon Wartortle. But we're clearly going to employ the same technique, first putting it to sleep and then hammering it with attacks. Unfortunately, it wakes up quite quickly, so we quickly attack it, and its water gun doesn't deal too much damage to us. Therefore, we win the battle with an inconsequential critical hit. It's already a significant milestone, since it opens up routes 24 and 25, filled with mandatory trainers. But instead of heading there, as we were going to heal at the Pokemon Center right next to the gym anyway, I thought, what if we tried battling Misty? We don't seem to have a type disadvantage, and since we have Hypnosis, we'll try putting Starmie to sleep directly to neutralize it. Unfortunately, it takes us several tries, which costs us HP while the starfish falls asleep. We can then activate our boost in defense and attack. In the process, even though sleep can last up to 7 turns, Starmie wakes up quite quickly, and despite dealing respectable damage with our confusion move, we only have 7 GP left when Starmie faces us. This is problematic because while we can handle its tackle attack well, we're unable to put it to sleep and we're punished for it. The battle is lost, so we'll reset since we want to keep as much money as possible without gaining unnecessary experience, and it's a small mistake on my part since I hadn't saved before the battle. I have to face Blue again to continue my journey on Nugget Bridge. Unfortunately, it takes me several attempts to defeat this trainer again, who still gives quite a challenge. We know we're a bit underpowered for Misty. It's time to gain some experience by visiting Bill. So, when we face the second gym leader again, we're at level 19, and on our first try, Hypnosis works directly. Therefore, we can freely use 3 confusion moves, which means we still have all our HP when the first Pokemon is knocked out. Now it's Starmie's turn, which is still faster than us. It can attack us twice before we manage to put it to sleep, and we can launch our series of Psybeam attacks since it's our only neutral move, as Starmie is also Psychic type. Gradually, we deal damage, always remembering to put the opposing starfish to sleep again when it wakes up from Hypnosis. And this tactic works. Articuno wins its duel at this level on the first attempt, and as it reaches level 20, it learns a new move to replace Reflect. Not because we need speed, but because we'll be able to exploit a glitch that allows us to increase all our stats. Now, we can leave Cerulean City. There's nothing more to do here. We can head to Vermilion City since there's also a gym and a battle against our rival. To access the gym, we need Cut, which is on the SS and. The next battle will be against Blue, and just like in the previous battle, Pidgeotto is the one causing issues. Even more so since we can't put it to sleep, and we even give up on using Hypnosis. Considering how quickly our HP are falling now, we'll prioritize offense to eliminate this threat and face Raticate. Psybeam is a 2 HKO, but we only take a quick attack, so we have a few HP left when we face Kadabra, which now has offensive moves. Since it's the same type as us, we resist its attacks, and our Hypnosis works. So, we managed to use 2 Psybeams to defeat Blue's third Pokemon. Only Wartortle remains, and our success depends on it falling asleep in the first turn. This is fortunate for us because the tortoise doesn't wake up at all. It's of great service to us since with 3 attacks, we finished the battle on our first attempt. We had quite a bit of luck in this battle, but for me, even though we struggled so much in the previous fight here, the fact that we have a bit more training allows us to deal decent damage with average attacks, a noticeable difference in our Pokemon's power increase. In any case, now we're still going to attempt the Vermilion City Gym, despite the type disadvantage, because after all, we do have a legendary for this challenge. It would be a waste of time to come back here later. Voltorb is sent out first, and on the first turn, we succeed with Hypnosis. This will have a cheerful consequence since with Psybeam, we can hit the Pokeball without losing HP. Pikachu enters next. Here we'll be a bit arrogant since instead of putting it to sleep directly, we'll use a Psybeam, which also confuses it. Unfortunately, it's not enough. Pikachu manages to hit with Thunder Wave, which will hinder our Pokemon for the rest of the battle. Nevertheless, our opponent still takes confusion damage in the following turns. It bites the dust, and Articuno gets to face Raichu. While Lieutenant Surge boosts his Pokemon speed, we send a Psybeam his way, which also happens to be a critical hit, so we're off to a good start in the battle. However, in the next turn, our opponent scores a critical hit with Thunderbolt, putting our HP in the red, or at least if this generation had colors, and our Psybeam isn't powerful enough to finish the battle. Right after that, the Electric Mouse finishes us off, and we lose our first battle against Lieutenant Surge. Nonetheless, we're going to attempt the battle several times more, since I think there's an opportunity to succeed, but this requires good management of Pikachu to avoid paralysis. Voltorb is quite straightforward, and the real technique is to quickly put Pikachu to sleep to avoid status conditions. This means that when we face Raichu, we're faster. We can attempt to put it to sleep not once, but twice, because if our health bar is full, we can withstand its most powerful move, Thunderbolt, and our chances of successfully using Hypnosis are significantly improved, and if the Lieutenant Surge's signature Pokemon cooperates, it will stay asleep, leading to its downfall. As with 4 offensive moves, we know how to handle it and secure a new badge. I was worried about having to skip this gym, but Articuno proves to be quite effective, and now there's nothing more to do in this part of the map. So we can head towards the Celadon City, Saffron City, Lavender Town route, passing through the Rock Tunnel, of course. The real danger in this dungeon isn't any specific trainer, you just need to be prepared enough to avoid returning to the center and wasting time. What's quite handy is that Psybeam and Confusion together have a total of 70 power points, so with proper management, we won't run into issues with our moves. Unfortunately, it's easier said than done because against the hiker towards the end of the Rock Tunnel, we're left with only 4 Psybeams, and it's going to be very hard to deal damage with Confusion, but it's just enough to get past this trainer and arrive at Lavender Town. We're not going to linger too much and skip this town for now to pass through Celadon City and obtain the HM Fly. Articuno will obviously learn it, which will be very useful for the 4th gym, the Grass-type one. Goodbye Gust, which was normal, and hello to a physical stab in 2 steps though. Thanks to this, we can easily win our 4th match. Victory Bell is a 2-shot, as is Tangela, who fails to use multiple bind attacks, and against Vileplume, we might even get a critical hit to secure our victory in 5 hits, and we didn't even complete our shopping in the city. In fact, we can even get the move Psychic, a welcome upgrade to Psybeam, which then leads us to return to Lavender Town for a new battle against our rival. With an improved moveset, nothing can withstand Galarian Articuno anymore, one-shotting Pidgeot with a critical hit. For the next Pokemon, Arcanine, it's the same story, a simple psychic attack. Next comes Executor, and that's where Fly becomes interesting, as the attack will finish off the Grass-type Pokemon without it getting a chance to attack. The next Pokemon is Kadabra, and with a good physical attack this time, we can continue our streak of OHKOs. The only one that will give us a bit of resistance is Wartortle, which can take a Psychic. But at this stage of the battle, it's already in the bag, and we can finish it off with Fly to save PP of our special stab for climbing the Pokemon Tower. There's no denying of it, the rival has now become a formality, even though they have one of the most balanced teams in the game. We still haven't engaged in any unnecessary battles, and none of the ghosts we're going to encounter later should pose a problem. Mr. Fuji is freed. He gives us the flute, which will open up several routes for us. So after fleeing from the battle against the Snorlax we woke up, we're ready to speed down the cycling road. One small detail though, I haven't played this game in a while, and I'm not used to speedrunning, so to speak. Thus, I forgot to get the bicycle passing by Cerulean City. The chat on my Twitch channel, where I did the challenge, suggests that I could directly attempt the Sylph Company, since I had an easy time beating Blue in a few battles. There's a grunt to face before we encounter our rival again, who starts with a Pidgeot 6 levels higher than us. The plan here is to put it to sleep to use sleep turns not only to increase our speed, but also slightly boost our attack and defense due to the Boulder Badge and the Thunder Badge, which glitch to raise these stats in the 1st generation after another boost. This leads us to attack, and as you can see, Psychic deals good damage. Even though getting a critical hit is lucky, they are common in the 1st generation. It actually depends on the Pokemon's speed, and for Articuno, we're looking at around a 20% chance of a critical hit. So Pidgeot is KO'd, and as in the previous match, it's Arcanine called this time. We'll take it down in 2 hits. It can deal some damage to us, but it's not very threatening. We clear another Pokemon before encountering the Psychic-resistant ones that Blue sends our way. Unfortunately, the crit chance won't work here since both Execute and Alakazam are taken down in a critical hit, and crits don't account for stat changes in this generation. This works out well for us, as both Pokemon are KO'd in 1 hit, and we're now facing Blastoise with a variety of attacking options. We'll continue with our arrogance and attack directly. Blastoise responds with Bite, which would be super effective against us a generation later. Regardless, that's not our problem. We want to finish the battle with Psychic to remove the 5th rival from our path, often a tough hurdle. And yes, we have had a lot of critical hits. This was our 1st attempt. This makes 3 times in a row that we've beaten our rival without needing to retry. Clearly, we have the upper hand against them. Now it's time for Giovanni. He sends out a Nidorino to welcome us, and we'd love to take it out with Psychic. Unfortunately, we only have 1 Psychic attack left after the battle against the grunt guarding the door. We'll want to save it for a more important Pokemon, so we're going to use Fly here. It's a 2 HKO. No problem so far? Now we're up against Kangaskhan, which unfortunately resists our flying attack better. This is going to be a nuisance of a fight. Therefore, we decide to maximize our damage by using Agility after putting Kangaskhan to sleep. You can observe here the small difference brought by the badge boost glitch. It's not a massive boost, but it can help against certain Pokemon that might pose a challenge. We need 3 attempts to beat Giovanni's 2nd Pokemon. It's a bit annoying. Now we face Rhyhorn. We saved Psychic for it, but unfortunately, it's not a one-shot by a narrow margin. We take damage in return. But more importantly, we'll have to spend another PP for this Pokemon. Another Fly is used. And finally, we're up against Giovanni's ultimate Pokemon. We don't really have a choice. We'll attack directly, but our last offensive PP is not enough. enough, and now we don't have attacks that deal damage. Well, technically we can resort to struggle, but for that, we need to run out of all our hypnosis and agility PP, which might take some time. Meanwhile, Nidoqueen can finish us off with a critical hit poison sting, even though we've beaten our rival, who's a much tougher fight. We lost to Giovanni due to lack of PP. We'll have to give it another shot, but it means going to a Pokemon Center, which will cost us time, as we were right in front of the Sylph Company boss. And inevitably, once the back and forth is done, the battle becomes a cakewalk. Nidorino is one shot, Kangaskhan can take a hit but isn't threatening. Rhyhorn, as we knew, is also a two-shot, and ultimately, Nidoqueen's poison stings only cost us 2 HP. It ends up being a two-shot by the book. Team Rocket can clear out of Saffron City. Another chapter of the story is completed before finally speeding down the cycling road to reach Fuchsia City. 2 objectives: obtain the HMs in the Safari Zone, where there aren't really any trainers to battle, and then tackle Koga, who should be a piece of cake according to estimates. There are some jugglers before him, however, who are the same type as us but with physical moves. We can easily put the Drowsy to sleep before dealing with them, so we find ourselves facing Koga fairly easily, and the outcome is as follows. Psychic one-shots the Coughing. Good thing there are 2 of them. Wheezing can take a hit, but it misses its Smog attack. That wouldn't have been too dramatic either. And finally, after taking care of the new Coughing, we're up against Wheezing, which also can withstand a psychic attack. Luckily, Koga has the brilliant idea to use a stat-boosting move at that point in the battle. So, aside from the poisoning I had before the battle started, we defeated another gym leader without taking a hit. Well, we can move forward. So, we had forgotten about Saffron City's gym, but at least that way, we'll earn the badges in order. Therefore, we step out against Sabrina, who greets us with Kadabra. Since we're here, we'll just boost our speed a bit, as I'm not sure if we'll outspeed Kadabra. It will also increase our attack slightly. And facing us, the Pokemon holding a spoon is launching psychic attacks, which are not very effective. So, we've maxed out our stats, but for reasons I don't know. Specific to the first generation, it's our flying attack that's disabled when we want to use it. No matter. If we put the opponent's Pokemon to sleep, we can bide our time before delivering a series of psychics that will significantly extend the lifespan of the opposing Kadabra. The proof against Mr. Mime. Flying brings its HP down to the red zone, so it's an easy 2 HKO before facing a bug, against which we'll prefer Psychic due to its poison type. Unfortunately, it's still not a one-shot, and we give it another hit. And finally, Alakazam can enter the battle. This has been recurring in this fight. We haven't one-shot anyone. The little issue here against Alakazam is that it knows Recover, so with a 2-turn attack, we might not have the advantage if we continue attacking like this. We're not going to overdo it though. It's high time to put our enemy to sleep to control it. Without its recovery move, it's a 2 HKO, and in quick succession, we've won another badge. The options for this Pokemon seem optimal for the first generation, at least for now. When we reach Cinnabar, the destination is quite straightforward. We take a tour of the Pokemon Mansion, and there are no trainers around, so we get the secret key, and after a little quiz, we can face Blaine with the aim of obtaining a new badge. His lead is Growlithe, and we've seen a few of those already. With a double Psychic, we can defeat it after taking a relatively harmless Ember. Against Ponyta, the Psychic onslaught continues. Except this time, Blaine decides to use a Super Potion on the first turn. However, the Super Potion doesn't really heal the Pokemon, and it's withdrawn. Its evolution takes its place, which is at least more resilient, but is hit with a critical hit, so we can't be sure if it was a 2 HKO. In any case, I don't think this Pokemon would have posed a problem for our Articuno. Blaine's last line of defense is an Arcanine, and it takes Psychic pretty well, so we'll have to hit it multiple times to significantly lower its HP, and a critical hit helps us again. It doesn't directly defeat it, but the opposing Pokemon chooses to use Takedown. This causes it to take recoil damage, allowing us to claim the 7th badge, again on the first attempt. In fact, it's been a while since we've lost a battle, which is quite promising as we approach the end of the game. The next respectable challenger is most likely Giovanni, who was the last person to defeat us. So, this time, as we haven't learned our lesson, we return with an Articuno that doesn't have all its PP. However, we've made sure to keep as many Psychics as possible. An attack that hits the mark on the first Rhyhorn, I'm not sure if critical hits were important, and at this point in the battle, our Pokemon reaches a new level. Level 40, which in the Pokemon Sword and Shield games allows it to learn Recover. And here, I must admit, I'm facing my first dilemma. Which move can I forget for this, if I have to forget one? Obviously, we're in a generation where there's no way to relearn a move, and very few TMs are available for Galarian Articuno in 1996. Technically, Fly and Psychic are necessary, just to have 2 offensive moves. I'm not even sure if we can forget Fly since it's an HM. Hypnosis has been too useful. Hate has been somewhat niche in this run, where Recover provides an additional defensive guarantee in battles where we're always alone against 5 or 6 Pokemon. The decision is made. Recover replaces Agility, and the battle resumes. As if we really needed it, Psychic is a critical hit on the Dugtrio, and we're already facing Nidoqueen, a Pokemon against which we have a type advantage. Just like at Sylph Company, it takes our attack but struggles to react, so we can have our way with it, as well as with Nidoking, which is one-shot. Only Raiden remains, and with its unfortunate special, it still holds up against our Psychic, given the extra 10 levels it has. The next Psychic is used to crush Giovanni's conquest hopes, and we gain a level, win a badge, and gain access to the Indigo League. From now on, there are only 6 battles left, 5 in a row at the very end. The first of them is a rehearsal against the final boss, which Articuno will engage immediately. It's facing a Pidgeot, a Pokemon that strangely resembles its design from Post, the first generation. And thankfully, it doesn't know Sand Attack at this stage of the game. So we'll directly go for it with Psychic, which is capable of a 2-shot. The next Pokemon is new to Blue's team, it's Rhyhorn. We just defeated one a moment ago, thanks to Psychic, and this time, we one-shot it without a critical hit, confirming that it wasn't luck in the previous battle. Arcanine is next in line, and Psychic wreaks havoc. Up until now, we take the critical hit when it comes. This allows us to deal with Magneton using physical attacks, and for the fun of it, we even use Recover, just to temporarily have our HP at maximum. We can eliminate the threat before crossing paths with Alakazam. As always, we'll favor Fly, but Alakazam's Psychic deals serious damage. It was a critical hit. Undoubtedly, luck is on our side here, as our Fly brings its HP into the red zone. It's now time to recover before launching a physical attack that defeats Blue's second-to-last Pokemon. Only Blastoise remains, and we're not going to take any real risks. We heal, even though we still take a Hydro Pump, a pretty powerful move, so we hope it changes its move before we can attack ourselves. Psychic seems to be a 3 HKO, but as Blastoise has decided to withdraw, it's not really attacking us anymore, and the battle is won without resorting to Hypnosis. Indeed, Blue is harmless here. All victories in the first attempt, not always very stylish, but the most important thing is that now we can engage in the Pokemon League Challenge. There's still the victory road to tackle, and in the meantime, I'll clarify a rule that I would like to apply in this generation for the league. I won't save between each trainer battle. This will reduce luck in battles, as while you can have a lot of luck with haxing against one trainer, when you have 5 in front of you, it's a different story. The probability of miracles happening every time is almost nil. Of course, I can heal my Pokemon between each battle. Now that it's set, we can attempt against Lorelei, the first member of the Elite Four. She starts with Dugong, which we'll quickly put to sleep so that we can freely attack with our main stab, Psychic. Unfortunately, the damage we deal is quite bad, and since misfortunes never come alone, the opposing Pokemon wakes up. We let it attack, and it uses Aurora Beam. It's a critical hit, and we're knocked out. The first failure in the league, ouch. I knew Lorelei wouldn't be a walk in the park, but a single offensive move knocked us out. Let's give it another try, still wanting to test a little bit the damage the opponent's Pokemon can do to us if it's not a critical hit. And that's exactly what I feared. It's a 2-hit knockout, while we seem to be headed for a 4-hit knockout at best. Let's prioritize Hypnosis now. Considering it only has a 60% accuracy, we need to be more cautious with our attempts. When we make another try, focusing on ensuring that the opponent's Pokemon is constantly asleep. Since we're faster, we should always have the advantage as long as we maintain our Hypnosis. In the first generation, the turn the opponent's Pokemon wakes up, it doesn't attack, so we're prepared for that. With 3 Psychic-type moves, we can finally defeat the first Pokemon of the league to face Dugong. Here again, we'll employ the same technique, Hypnosis and 3 Psychic moves, to prolong the battle. Now it's time for Slowbro, and we can breathe a bit easier since it doesn't know any Ice-type attacks, and we still have Recover as a backup. Since it's a Psychic type, we'll prioritize flying moves, even though its defense increases as it uses Roar and Withdraw. After a while, when our flying attacks are no longer dealing much damage, we score a critical hit. It was quite likely to happen. Finally, we defeat the third Pokemon. Now it's Jinx's turn. We try Hypnosis. It succeeds, but it wakes up right away, so we put it back to sleep immediately. The next turn, it wakes up again, and then we miss our attack. Consequently, we're about to receive our first hit in this battle, an Ice Punch. We lose about half of our health, but we also get frozen. Being frozen is a bit of a setback in the first generation. There's no straightforward way to thaw out. Therefore, from now on, the battle is lost, even though it had been going rather well up to this point. In fact, we're overly reliant on Hypnosis, and if it fails, we're in trouble immediately. During a new attempt, we managed to put Jinx to sleep a bit longer before facing Lapras, which, of course, knows Ice-type moves. We're just barely holding on against its Blizzard because our Hypnosis didn't work. We then juggle between Recover and Hypnosis, but when we want to attack, we're horrified to realize that we've run out of offensive PP. It's going to be tough to hang on until we can use Struggle. Yeah, I don't think this tactic is going to work. It takes us several attempts each time to reach Jinx or even Lapras. And remember, we can't save until the end of the game, and there are still 4 trainers with a lot of determination waiting to face us. Now, I believe it's time to consider another solution. The first thing to do is optimize our Pokemon. So, we'll go back to the region, collect any easily accessible items like Ether and Elixirs that we might have missed, then head to Celadon City's department store to stock up on calcium. This will boost our special stat, and to to make sure we maximize our same type attack bonus, as known as stab, as much as possible, we'll sell all the items we've gathered during our journey, including the TMs. We might even get a few carbos to increase our speed. After that, we'll save before facing the first trainer and give our stock of rare candies we've collected during our journey to Articuno to level it up to 49. The result is immediately visible. From a special stat of 109, after our last loss against Lorelei, we're now at 134, an increase of almost 25%. So let's try our luck at the league again to see how it goes with a boosted Pokemon. Right from the start, we'll go with the Hypnosis strategy again to ensure we take as little damage as possible. And even if the damage from psychic moves increases without being particularly notable, where it gets interesting is that special stat affects both offense and defense. This means Lapras's attacks are no longer 2 HKO, but 3 HKO. This gives us more opportunities to put the opponent to sleep and recover. As a result, in this first battle, Articuno takes the lead and defeats Lorelei's first Pokemon. Against Cloyster now, it's an assured one-shot. So we're preserving PP for Psychic, and since I want to maximize my special attack, I'll try a Fly against the game's most defensive Pokemon. However, it's not enough. It gets healed right after. Alright, let's stop the experiments and go with Psychic from now on. It's time for Slowbro, which is more troublesome because it stalls our PP more than its attacks do. And a little drawback, we still struggle to deal damage to it. Nevertheless, we come out of the battle victorious, despite losing quite a bit of normal attack and many PP. Jinx is the next opponent as usual. It will be put to sleep before taking a Fly, which is a critical hit, so we have our normal attack for this turn, and the opponent's Pokemon is one-shotted. We proceed and face Lapras, and it's kind enough to fall asleep right away. Now, we have enough Psychic PP left, and it's even a 2 HKO, thanks to a critical hit. So, we win our first battle in the league, and it's about time, especially since we've reached level 50 now and are going to learn a new move, Dream Eater. At this point in the game, it's crucial to weigh the pros and cons of teaching a new move to our Pokemon, as it means giving up something we had planned to use against the league. But here, although it's usually a niche move, I have a feeling it could be useful. We often put our opponent to sleep, therefore the move will be usable almost all the time. Moreover, it's stronger than Psychic. It has a power of 100, and even in the first generation, I was surprised to learn that, given how scarce the move is in both the games and strategy, and ultimately, it allows us to recover HP. So technically, it can replace Recover, which we usually use when the opponent's Pokemon is asleep. The choice is clear, and we learn a third offensive move before facing the second member of the league, the good old Bruno. When we start, we're facing Onix right away, which will simply be taken down by a Psychic move. Perfect. We're making good progress in the battle. Now, we're up against Hitmonlee. For this one, we'll prioritize the flying move to save PP for special attacks, especially the ones that don't require the opponent to be asleep. It's always good to have Psychic in reserve. Even if it's less powerful, it can be used directly, and the critical hit doesn't matter. The next duel is against Hitmonchan, who will suffer the same fate, and since their stats are comparable, it's reasonable to assume we can one-shot both Pokemon. Now, we face Onix again. Psychic does the job. Great. We're cruising through the battle smoothly. We're now up against the final Pokemon, Machamp. Given its good defense, we're sticking to Psychic, which still one-shots it. Another victory against the easiest member of the Elite Four, for sure. But we haven't lost a single HP before facing Agatha and her Poison-type Pokemon. Once again, we have a type advantage. Let's see if we can finally make use of it. The first Pokemon is Gengar, and there's a little issue. It's faster than us and can attack. Luckily, it goes for Nightshade, an attack that deals fixed damage. So, we can go for Psychic, which is a critical hit this time. Honestly, that's fine. Knowing it can put us to sleep, we're getting rid of a thorn in our side. Now, we're up against Golbat, and this time we're faster, and Psychic is a one-shot. Perfect, we're off to a near-optimal start against Agatha before we lock eyes with Haunter. Will we be faster? Yes, it's perfect. One less threat in this battle. Arbok is up next. And once again, Psychic one-shots. Will it be a consistently won battle? The ultimate Pokemon is once again a Gengar. We know it'll be faster, and we'll see here if Psychic one-shots. So, we get poisoned, and apparently it's a two-shot. So, I'm not really excited about facing Agatha again. I hope this run is the right one. After taking another hit from Gengar, we know it doesn't have Hypnosis. We can finish it with Psychic, the third member of the Elite Four down. Hooray! It's really the Gengars that are scary, and now we're up against Lance. Let's restore some PP for our legendary bird. Then we can proceed to the showdown with the Dragon Master. The first Pokemon is Gyarados, and right away, we can see that Psychic's damage is not at all positive, while we take a critical hit Hydro Pump. What a coincidence that seriously alarms us. We'll have to weaken the beast in front, but before that, we need to put it to sleep. So our Hypnosis needs to work, and it does, phew. And finally, we can discover Dream Eater, stronger than Psychic, which will allow us to recover some HP in 2 hits. Gyarados leaves the battle. We're ready to face a new enemy, and Lance sends out his Dragonairs. Since we've lost HP, we'll continue to use Dream Eater, but this time, our Hypnosis fails, so we take an Hyper Beam. Phew, we have another chance to use Hypnosis. Actually, 2 chances, and now we want to sap the life from Dragonair to heal, while quickly wanting to face its clone. This time, I make a little misclick click, as I want to use Dream Eater when it's not asleep, and we take a Dragon Rage, 40 less HP. Well, we absolutely need to put our opponent to sleep, and luckily, it's a success right away. We can steal its hit points, so we have 132 when facing Aerodactyl. And here we might be a bit arrogant as we choose not to put it to sleep since its defenses are quite low. Psychic can do the job. So, we take an Hyper Beam, which gives us the opportunity to put it to sleep, to recover some HP. Maybe we should have done that right away to recover all its HP. So we're facing Lance's signature Pokemon, a level 62 Dragonite, and it doesn't succumb to our Hypnosis. They hit us directly with an Hyper Beam, which kills us. Ouch, so close to the champion. Honestly, it's tough, but that's the game. No saving in the Elite Four, so a few mistakes we made against Lance. We'll pay dearly for them since we'll have to face everyone again before hoping for a chance against Blue, and especially we'll have to face Lorelei again. Now we've had more ease using the rare candies. It's logical, and to make it even more consistent, I've decided to break the rule, which is more like a guideline or an objective, not to level up our Pokemon. That way, we'll level up Galarian Articuno and use our 9 rare candies to make it level 50 directly before entering the Elite Four. And it already has Dream Eater, so we're sure we'll have enough EP, especially against Lorelei and her stalling Slowbro. And I realized after my run that we didn't even have to level up our Pokemon. So for the sake of science, we're still at the minimum level possible, as I left some rare candies in Kanto, some of which are very easily reachable. That could have completed Galarian Articuno's 50th level. Anyway, we're ready to make another attempt between Lorelei, and it's going well. The first Dugong is asleep, and since Psychic isn't a guaranteed 2 HKO, we'll still prioritize Dream Eater. And to my great dismay, it was pointless, as it takes one more turn to finish the Pokemon off. As usual, once asleep Cloyster, it's a 2-shot, and now it's Slowbro's turn, which will give us some trouble again. So, we managed to defeat it, yes, but we're weakened against Jinx, which is quite regrettable because against this one, we miss our Hypnosis once, so we take an Ice Punch. And when we manage to put the opposing Pokemon to sleep, our Fly isn't strong enough. So, there's a higher chance that Jinx will wake up, which it won't miss, and its Ice Punch doesn't finish us off. We have 9 hit points left, so we can finish the Pokemon in front, and when we clash with Lapras, we miss our Hypnosis and it lands its Blizzard. If we manage to go quite far with Articuno, Lorelei apparently still causes us problems because we can't afford to take 2 to 3 attacks from her. I found it important to note because even if we have a working tactic, it still has flaws. It relies on Hypnosis working, but the advantage here is that if we fail the first battle, we can retry without it taking too much time. So we re-enter the doors of the Elite Four, and we face Lorelei again. Hypnosis works right away this time. We launch a first Psychic. It's weaker, but it has a chance to lower Special, and our tactic directly pays off. So now, Dugong is a 2-shot, well, not because of the Special drop, but here, because of the critical hit, the magic of the first generation. Cloyster comes in, Hypnosis doesn't work. Okay, we take about 60 HP of damage. Fine, we'll recover it directly with Dream Eater in 2 hits. Here comes Slowbro, and it would be good to put it to sleep directly to not lose an attack. And on the first turn, it works perfectly. We get it, and we'll use the Fly attack from now on, and one drawback, it misses. We didn't have time to mention it earlier, more in the video, but its accuracy isn't perfect. That means that here, for example, we'll attack after 4 turns, which allows it to spend some turns asleep. So, it's a bit unfortunate that we have a physical stab that lasts 2 turns with our tactic. Well, fortunately, the Pokemon in front had a long sleep, and our Fly, at least, was a critical hit. We can put our opponent to sleep again, and with the damage we've done, we have an optimal start in this battle. We have all our lives against Jinx. It's docile, it falls asleep right away, and our Fly does good damage. Now, it doesn't matter if it opens its eyes, we're faster, and now we take out the last Pokemon. Truly, luck is on our side. Hypnosis works on Lapras, and we can once again enjoy using our Psychic attacks that will defeat Lorelei. A satisfying victory, since it will allow us to try our luck against the next trainer. As usual, Bruno can be managed. Psychic one-shots Onix. Apparently, this attack also one-shots Hitmonlee, so its cousin enters the field. It's also one-shot. By extension, we know that the second Onix is a one-shot, and as in previous battles, Machamp is also one-shot. Okay, 5 PP was enough to deal with Bruno. We sign up directly before making sure we'll have enough Psychic for the next battle. Agatha issues the challenge, and this time, facing Gengar, we're in a bit of a mess. It's faster. We knew that. It takes advantage of that to confuse us, which prevents us from attacking, so we're almost at the mercy of the opposing Pokemon. However, it will keep hitting us with Dream Eater, and after a while we manage to attack, which leaves us with just one more turn to be able to defeat it. So, we continue. Agatha preferred to use a Super Potion, and the real threat of the battle has already fallen. We knew it. Golbat is a one-shot, and now it's Haunter's turn. Historically, it was a one-shot. Only one is left now, an Arbok, before facing a Gengar that will use Dream Eater. No, my friend. We are the one with the technical knowledge of this move. We'll show you during the upcoming battles if you're interested. interested. Agatha is defeated, so we're at the same stage as the last time we lost to Lance. As always, he starts with his Gyarados. This time, we won't give it any chances. With Hypnosis, followed by Psychic, the special drop is welcome. And finally, a critical hit Dream Eater. And that's one down, with our lives intact, unlike the previous battles. We're more comfortable using our Hypnosis because it's unlikely that at least one won't fall asleep for the following Pokemon. Moreover, we land a critical hit against the first Dragonair, and each time we've managed to put them to sleep on the first try. Each time, we've also one-shot them with a critical hit. Okay, it seems to be the new meta, time for Aerodactyl. It's faster, and will take the first Hyper Beam quite well. If its next move is a critical hit, we might be in trouble. So, we'll put it to sleep, recover some health, another critical hit, seriously, to be in good shape when facing Dragonite. Our Hypnosis lands on the first try. That's all we ask for. Now we can deal damage, consisting of 2 Psychics and a Dream Eater. The opposing Dragonite is knocked out, giving us the chance to face our rival again. This might be the final battle of the challenge, blindfolded, but historically, except for Cerulean, we've always had an easier time against our rival. Will he give us a taste of our own medicine this time? One thing's for sure, even though it only appeared in the second generation, Articuno seems to know Mind Reader now. It's been successful with Hypnosis on the first try for a few battles now. This sets up a situation where we can directly attack the rival's lead, thus aiming for a 2-shot. It's great to have that power, especially to deal with the upcoming Alakazam that we won't hesitate to put to sleep as well. Here, we'll opt for Fly, but similar to the battle against Sabrina, the opponent's Pokemon keeps using Recover. No worries, we'll put it to sleep again, and on our next attack, we'll one-shot it. Thank you, critical hit. However, it's more likely to happen when it spams Recover. That's the reality. Raiden enters the battle now, and we'll play it ultra safe. We put it to sleep nonetheless, even if we might have been able to one-shot it. Looking back, it was an excellent idea, because the Pokemon survived our attack. I thought it would be a one-shot, so I feel like I've matured when I see that just relentlessly attacking wouldn't have worked. Now, we're facing Arcanine, and Growlithe Evolution had never really given us trouble, but we'll prevent our opponent from attacking nonetheless. We'll put it to sleep, and then we can 2-shot it. Next comes a certain Executor, who's resisting falling asleep. It takes us 3 attempts before we can use our physical stab move, which hits the grass type that didn't have great moves anyway. Now we face Blue's ultimate Pokemon, Blastoise, and the tension is palpable. Will our Hypnosis succeed? Yes, but it wakes up. Second try, the turtle is finally asleep. Now we're going to attack, and on our first move, we get a special drop. Just what we needed, because now we can use our most powerful move, learned just before the league, to recover our HP and win the battle, thus completing the challenge. There you have it. We've finished Pokemon Blue with Galarian Articuno, a sentence that I never thought I'd say one day, and we managed to do it quite quickly. On my end, it took about 3 hours and 50 minutes to do it live. I'd like to thank everyone who joined the chat, whether to give advice or to support me mentally. About the challenge, keeping the number of battles to a minimum added a bit of fun, as we often had lower levels compared to the in-game obstacles, mostly bosses. I hope you enjoyed these kinds of challenges, especially this variation of the format, which I find more enjoyable, especially to use Pokemon that aren't necessarily bad, but are appreciated by the community. By the way, if you'd like, you can suggest a Pokemon in the comments that I could use in an upcoming challenge. The advantage is that no matter the generation, I should be able to implement it in the game from the first to the third generation, as I've done here. Truly, anything is possible as long as the challenge is interesting. In any case, let's say goodbye for now. See you next week for a new challenge. Au revoir!